Make sure I sit down in time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we are live. Tony and Kevin's excellent show. He used to say excellent radio show. If anybody's out there listening right now as we go live, please give me a sound check. I think you can hear us, but if not, please let us know in the comments. Joined in the Keller Williams studio at 901 Main Street, right here in downtown Cañon City. Beautiful downtown Cañon City, Fremont County, the center of the universe as far as I'm concerned right now. So, of course, I'm joined with Mr. Phil Lund, and Phil was gracious to be on the show today. Phil, you've been on the show before, at least once, if not twice before.
I think I've been on 3 times with your radio show, and it was a pleasure every time. So thank you for having me, Kevin.
Awesome, absolutely. So Phil, I know, I believe in this community. I'm originally from here. Have not lived here my entire life, but moved back in 2013. I love building this community and the culture of this community, and something that's been going on lately. There's been some not so pleasant things going on in our community, some crime, some vagrancy, some issues of that nature. And I looked at the Facebook page. Let me make sure I have it correct. Cañon City crime information. I'm trying to actually get the name of it, but it has 4.7. Cañon City crime thief reports and public information. I looked at their membership this morning. It's a group that you have to ask to be a part of. It has 4.7 thousand members, and that's great. In a community, Cañon City proper is roughly 17,500 people.
Yep.
Unincorporated county, of which I live in, and Lincoln Park, I would say there's probably 25,000 people that live in this, maybe as much as 30,000 in the zip code of 81212, with 49,000 people living in the entire county. It was the last census, I believe it was around that number, and they count incarcerated people in that as well too, which is about 7,000 people. So we are the seat of the county, the epicenter of culture here, Cañon City and Florence, of course, in Fremont County. And it's a great little community, and you have been superbly active on this Cañon City crime thief reports and public information page, and you, I think, have done an excellent job of spearheading meetings and just getting people to coalesce and come together to have a conversation, basically to defend our community.
Yep. And so Cañon City, we want to focus on the positive, and there are just absolutely great things happening here. But we got to deal with the negative, and the negative is that crime has certainly been out there, and it's driving people crazy to the extent. Property crimes, but we've had some shootings that are recently happened as well. And so I appreciate the folks that put that up. I'm not associated with that other than they let me post on it. But I've been watching their numbers, as you just indicated, and they've been going up by a couple hundred a month at this point. People are very concerned about this issue, and rightly so. It is causing the quality of life for many people to be a challenge here in Cañon City at this moment.
Absolutely, it is, and even real estate is pretty hot right now. It's we've had a lull in the market of late, but it's after COVID, it became very more expensive. I mean, the median price last I looked was around $460,000 for a home here in Cañon City. But it does affect things. I mean, I have commercial listings and things of that nature, and I've showed commercial listings that were very, very high end. But sometimes when you've got issues like that, business owners downtown, and I know that there's a correlation between unhoused people, homeless people, vagrancy of that nature, and not necessarily, and there may be crime obviously associated with that, but also just kind of not taking care of things, trashing properties, things on the trails, beautiful areas of, it's just that culture is, we need to fight back and make sure that it's a clean community.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And of course, my full-time life is, I'm dealing with capitalization for getting capital into Cañon City for a project that I'm working on. And if you've got a high crime rate, people always look at the stats. Attracting capital into a community when there's at least a reputation of crime going on, whether real or imagined, is a challenge. And it's something we absolutely have to deal with for sure.
So there is a meeting, if I'm correct, on March 10th. That's Monday.
Yeah.
That's at 7 o'clock? Or?
7 o'clock p.m. And I'm excited about that meeting because it's our 5th meeting that we've had. The first one, if I can just take a moment and tell kind of the evolution of what's happened there. The first one where a number of us got hit by crime, including myself. And so we had a meeting. We had approximately 75 people that were there. And they were just telling their stories of how crime has been impacting them. And some of it's heart wrenching as far as it's emotional stuff. This is people don't want to go out on the streets at nighttime. All the stuff you expect as a positive from a small town, they're not getting because of those challenges. And so we had that meeting. The second meeting that we did about a month later, we had the mayor there, we had a county commissioner there, representatives from the sheriff, police department, and Parks Rec were there as well because that issue of homelessness and all the trails that they have as far as cleaning them up and everything, it's a challenge. So we had that, and every one of them is Kevin Q&A. So it's taking people who are officials who are doing something here and engaging with the community to make some challenges and some differences there. And then the third one was the sheriff and the police chief. And that was a good one. There were issues, again, issues that I can dive up, but just to continue the conversation. And then we dealt with code enforcement, which was a necessary thing. Again, dealing with drug houses, and some things fall on the drug house side, not in law enforcement. They fall on our code enforcement. And so we needed to have that discussion. And now the fifth one, which is the one that you just referenced coming up, 7 o'clock this Monday night, March 10th. It's going to be at Steeple Event Center. But we've got the chief judge of Fremont County. We've got the district court attorney, or excuse me, judge for Fremont County. We've got the DA for Fremont County, and we also have a former judge who's now a defense attorney. And I think we're going to have a pretty robust conversation. What is important is having lots of people there. I'm really pushing to get the word out, and we can step up as citizens and make a difference here with having this conversation.
That's wonderful. Yeah, you're right. You just get the numbers out there, and it's great to see that participation from, I call them, people in positions of authority, influence, and leadership, and that they can guide us in some way, because people that are law abiding, people that are hardworking, I mean, really any human being anywhere, especially here in our town, you just want to work, you want to love your family, you want to be with your family, you want to be a part of the community, and you want to be safe and secure. And that's really my ultimate, I guess, not theory, but it's not my theory, but government's primary job is security.
I agree.
That's your first job.
National
and
level,
infrastructure second.
You're dealing with other countries. On the local level, it's us as citizens and keeping us safe. And I could not agree with you more. Because
it facilitates an environment for economic activity, for cultural activity, for community growth. If you don't feel safe, or not even necessarily just safe, it's the whole broken windows theory. I think that came out of New York, and I can't remember the gentleman that came up with it. If there's broken windows and dilapidated looking properties, it just creates kind of this mindset of nobody cares. We can kind of do what we want. And so even if you go by a building downtown, or, go to the back, or you go to a trail, the Riverwalk, anywhere, and it's just completely trash. I know there's places even out by Great Creek, people off Red Canyon Road, that there's areas that are just trashed, and it just makes you think, well, I can do whatever I want. And you have that kind of vagrancy, and that just breeds a culture of crime. And it might not be necessarily violent crime. Of course, we've had some of that, but it could just breed a culture of, nobody cares, I'm going to do what I want, and this community doesn't care. But these meetings are showing, we do care, and we're coming together to prove that we do.
So you're hitting on a really important issue, which is the multifaceted thing that we need to do here. None of us are going to be law enforcement officers. That's their job. We're not going to be prosecutors. We're not going to be judges. But there is certainly a role for citizens to play here that's huge. And if we don't fulfill that gap, there's a problem. One of them is just the pride in the community. And excuse me, that whole cleanup effort you're talking about. So I wasn't going to talk about this on this show this morning, but we are going to announce that we're having a citywide, countywide cleanup that's going to occur. And the website's all set up and ready to go. It was going to be announced at this meeting coming up on March 10th for that. So it's going to be April 26th. I'm not going to go into more detail, but you're absolutely hitting on something, that whole pride factor of the broken window concept that you just talked about. I think that was Mayor Giuliani that came up with that concept.
Oh, okay.
And we want to do something about that and more pieces with this multifaceted effort of making Cañon City proud of itself. And also together, we can make a difference on this crime issue.
And that's so important. That's so important. I mean, keep your community clean. So many people, as mentioned before, I'm from here. My formative years were spent here, actually born here. Came back from Nevada in 1992, graduated high school in 2001. So my formative years growing up from the year 10 years old to 18 were spent here. And then I came back in 2013. And I love it here. I came back because it's a great community. And when I moved back in 2013, I moved from Denver, which has had issues, and they're way worse now. But even when I lived there, it was much worse. 16th Street Mall at that time was much safer than it is now.
Absolutely.
In 2013. Yeah, and it's
Loved past tense.
yes, yes, and it's dangerous now. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously there was that stabbing, so I just came down here because it's where I wanted to be. And I have a daughter now. You know, raise a family here. It's a great community to grow up in, and it does kind of sadden me that it has changed. And I just kind of wonder how and why it has changed and shifted. Because when I moved back here, oh God, so that'd be 12 years ago. It'd be technically 11 and a half because it was August 13. There really wasn't a lot of homeless people here. There wasn't a lot of crime like that here. In a little over a decade of time span, it has changed dramatically. It seems almost to have changed the last 5, 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wonder how I guess what's the source of that? And this is not a problem that we're just facing. This is cities are facing this. Other small towns and communities are facing this. But how can we? I mean, I'll give an example. So I went and visited my cousin in Pensacola, Florida, in June of last year, and we were driving around the area. I don't remember the county, and I was like, you don't see a lot of like vagrancy, you don't see a lot of homeless people, you don't see a lot of trashed out areas. I was like, why is that? He basically said because the sheriff that was elected a number of years ago doesn't tolerate it, and they have this whole community underneath this big bridge. I mean, there's highways and roads every much more densely populated area than here,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't see any of that. And I was like dumbfounded, and he said, yeah, they just don't tolerate it. So they don't allow a culture like that to exist, and what happens? It doesn't exist, and it gets pushed out. And it's a great place to live, and it's a much more densely populated area. And you would think even though they had 8 inches of snow not so long ago, it's an area of much warmer climate, so there would be much more people that might want to be homeless there and commit crime. I mean, obviously, crime tends to be higher in the summer months.
Mm-hmm.
At nighttime, it's dark. You have a little cover of darkness, and it's warm still. So,
yep.
But they don't have it there, so we can do that here, I think.
We absolutely can do it here, and you are really hitting on a couple themes. One is culture. Is it a culture that you tolerate this? In my view, I've been around communities all my life as far as working with them and professionally as well as doing some other things. And so no community stays static. You're either spinning up or you're spinning down. And if you're not paying attention, the natural course is just like gravity. It's taking you down. And so you got to deal with that. So one of the other things we'll be announcing on Monday, you're hitting me and forcing me into this talking about it, but that's okay, is Not Here. We want to have a Not Here campaign. So other communities have not, they've been taken over by crime, and it's really negative for them. And we need to have a effort, citizen-driven, that says Not Here. We're just not going to tolerate that. And holding our officials accountable for this. They have a responsibility if you're going to run for elected office or be appointed to positions of authority. You have a responsibility to protect your people just as long as you said, and we need to hold them. So the two things that are coming that are not just talking about the courts, but one is cleanup. And if somebody wants to go to the page, they can do it. It's CanyonCityCleanup.com. Again, first you get the exclusive story.
All right, breaking here on our show here.
Yeah, exactly. CanyonCityCleanup.com. We'll be announcing that more on Monday, and then also the Not Here campaign, and we've got signs and things that are going to be ready to go for that as well. And so that's something we citizens can do. And so if you got a Not Here sign out in front of your yard and it's anti-crime, does the person that's walking the streets that was going to hit your property decide that you're paying attention and I'm not going to hit there? I think I'll go on down to the next house. I think that could be something that is in their head at that point because you're dealing with a citizen that's there. And we've got workshops coming up that I'm working with CCPD to do. And I want to just, if I can ramble just for a second.
Please do.
CCPD and specifically the police chief, they're stepping up to the plate. I know they get a lot of criticism. They're down on staff. I know that, but they've spent a lot of time with me specifically. I've been in the police chief's office talking to him. So this is not about us being negative towards law enforcement or CCPD or the sheriff's department. This is us working with them to say, we have a citizen role. What can we do? And they've got specific thoughts as well as neighborhood watches, those kind of things. But when we talk about we can beat this together, it also includes the local officials who are willing to step up to the plate, provide leadership that is absolutely necessary, and including the police department, the sheriff's department, et cetera. It's all of us coming together. And that's why this conversation with the prosecutor, the DA, and the judges is just so important to have people there and to have a really good conversation with them.
Okay, that's awesome. Quickly, I'll take them. I know we're live, but I got to shut this door. apologize, Phil.
No problem.
So it is great. Yes, that we well, that's as best as it's going to get. So yeah, that getting those folks involved and working with them, and I think that sometimes it's so easy to jump the gun and accuse law enforcement of that very issue, but a lot of times they feel like their hands are tied. I will share this story. I may have actually shared this on the air and whatever. It's our show. We can talk about what we want.
Yep.
So I'm a part of the Fremont Community Foundation. We, in conjunction with the Chamber and our RG Rio, put on the Royal Gorge Whitewater Festival. Great thing for our community. Huge fundraiser for nonprofits. It was 2022. There's a gentleman there. I'm quite sure, I don't know, I can't prove this empirically, but was under the influence of a drug, and he had been given water for free by one of our bartenders for a very substantial period of time. And finally, and it was $5 to get in. I think that he was already in the park, right? Because I don't think he had $5 to get in the event. But anyway, finally the gentleman said, I can't give you, we were charging like $1 or $2 for water. Finally stopped him after like 10 bottles. And then the guy squared up to him like he was going to fight him. So we had to kick this person out. We kicked him out 3 times. And the final time, members of our board, and these are pretty burly guys, Eddie Senecal and Tom Kirsteins, and, and my dad, Dan, we're escorting this guy out again. And we said, we need the police officers over here. And I turned to one of the police officers and said, look, if you don't keep him out of here, something bad is going to happen to him. We're going to do something about it. And he pretty much looked at me and says, yeah, stuff can happen. So I was kind of like shocked. He kind of said, look, we can't really do much, but if something happens like that, we're not going to, and this is inferring, right? I'm not saying that he said this, but saying that, well, if that happens, then we may not do anything to you. And we're kind of thinking, what do we do with this situation?
Right.
And it was just like, so how do these guys, like their hands are tied? I know a lot of great, deputies. One of my buddies, Rico Garcia, this is one of probably the toughest guy I know. I mean, and he's a good soul, good person. He's a good guy. He's ethically a great guy. He's the head coach for the wrestling club here. And he's a great coach and really involved in the youth and the community. And he's a sheriff deputy, and I know that those guys are out there busting their humps. Austin Maudlin's another young officer who's a great guy. Miss Saint, gosh, I'm here alive and I'm missing his name. Another gentleman who's a great officer. Met these guys and they're great at the festivals, but their hands seem to be sort of tied. And I wonder, is it down from the state? Do they feel like there's some sort of legislation that doesn't allow them to enforce this? But then I think like maybe from the mayor, from the city council, from the county commissioners, from the people in positions of authority, power, and influence, can they say, look, we can create a culture that we just don't tolerate that stuff, or we're just not going to do that? And I don't know can they? I mean, because the citizens can do something, but it shouldn't be our job to have to, like we said, police things. And we're trying to go to work. We're trying to raise our families. We're trying to do things with our lives.
Yep.
We don't need to, have to, clean things up. And
once again, Kevin, you're hitting 2 themes that are absolutely important. One is just the culture issue, but when having these meetings, I've learned a lot myself with the conversation back and forth just in the last few months. And there's a lot of blame that goes towards Denver on the legislature as far as being more pro-criminal than they are pro-citizen, for sure. And I'm on that side of the fence as far as my political beliefs, that that is a absolute problem. And it does tie hands of officials who are trying to do stuff. But I'm also on the other side that we just cannot let that be our excuse that I can't do anything. My hands are tied, especially if you're in a position of authority, as you're talking about, whether it's the city council, the mayor, the county commission, sheriff, etc. We absolutely have to come together as a community and to say, this is not tolerable here. We cannot do this. We're not going down this way. And I believe if we do that as a community, we're going to make a difference. We're going to set a culture that doesn't allow for that to happen. No matter what they do in Denver, we can make a difference here. And that's why these conversations are so important, to have people there. And it's just not the officials telling us what needs to happen. It's also them listening to us as citizens and what needs to happen and how crime is affecting our lives. And so they can get, you always have officials that sometimes they feel out of touch. We're making sure that that's not the case. They need to be in touch, and that is based on conversations with citizens.
that makes so much sense. I mean, it really comes from the ground up. Those supposedly that cliche grassroots, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They represent us, and we're the
it.
ones that create the culture, and then we ask them to reflect that culture. And that's the thing, that's just being involved in this going to these meetings and being aware. And even that Facebook page with 4.7 thousand people on it,
Mm-hmm.
they're sharing things. Hey, look out for this. Look out for that.
Yep.
Like I said, like not here, not in our community. I mean, I live in Lincoln Park, and our neighbors watch out for each other
Mm-hmm.
pretty well. You know, and it's just, if you have a neighbor, you think that that's going to occur, you're less likely to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I have another funny story, and I've never really had too many problems in my neighborhood, but I was going to the gym, and then I came home, and my neighbors came and knocked on my door. Very nice people. We don't talk very much, and they came and knocked on my door and say, hey, that there was a vagrant person, a homeless person that was urinating on your front porch, looking in your windows. And I just missed this person by minutes, you know. And luckily my daughter was not home to see that. And I was basically like, if I would have caught that person, it could have been bad in my yard.
Right.
But at least I was glad that they let me know
Mm-hmm.
that was occurring. Now, did he commit well, I guess that is technically a crime, but he didn't do anything. I mean, that's pretty bad, but he didn't break a window, didn't try to break in, anything of that nature. But at least they let me know that occurred. It has not occurred since, you know, so I don't know if because they called me, it's like, hey, what are you doing?
Yep.
You know,
well,
he was aware of it.
Windows is a violation of who and what you are as far as, you know, your domicile. And certainly if you've got a daughter that's home, we dads want to protect them to the nth degrees. So, yep. One of the things we're working on for our April meeting is how to harden your home. And so, you know, the technology that we were talking about before the show started, there's lots of new things with the cameras and everything else that is out there. And so that workshop is coming. Another piece of this, we're, again, I bring my political views a little bit in it, but we need to be pro-citizen as well. And that means we're not going to be a police state. So there's a balance to all this stuff. We want to have, you know, we'll take advantage of the cameras. We'll take advantage of, you know, the police doing the patrols and all the things that they do. But there's also the Second Amendment, the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth, the Sixth Amendment. And so as a culture, as a country, as a city, we can't go way over on the other side where all of a sudden we've got cameras everywhere and it's got facial recognition software on it and nobody's got any privacy anymore. And the Fourth Amendment gets pushed back, which is the search and seizure one. We can't go there either. So it's a balance that we've got to navigate in all this to be a culture that we're dealing with the negative, the crime issues. We're also focused on economic development and the opportunity for jobs. But we also keep citizens' rights at the forefront as well. And so that's going to be part of the thing. And as far as that workshop, the other big one is what can we do as citizens as far as protecting our home? How much force can you use? And so we're going to have an attorney there that's also talking about that particular issue. So, you know, if they're outside of your home, what can you do? What can't you do? Because we want the people who are being prosecuted to be the ones that are actually breaking the law and not citizens who used a little more force than what the statutes in Colorado allows for, and they end up being the one that's prosecuted as a person opposed to the other one. So we all got to have in our heads exactly where that line is and be aware of what that's like. And so that's part of the education process.
And that's so good because, you know, brings up another, this is not something that happened to me last May in 2024. I had to go into Walmart at noon when I was on my way home for lunch. Very briefly went into Walmart. On my way in there, I was talking to a past client who's also my neighbor, and we were just talking about things going on. And ironically, she was talking about how she didn't feel safe and comfortable by going on the Riverwalk. She's a single lady, older lady, and she didn't feel safe there. And as we were having this conversation in the parking lot of Walmart, there's a person in the peripheral of my vision who was screaming profanities and acting very irrational and crazy, just acting completely crazy, screaming at people. And then she came to our little sphere or bubble very close. And then I happened to look at her because, well, she obviously was in need of some sort of attention. And then she pulled out a knife and threatened to kill me.
Yeah.
And then of course, you know, I'm thinking, what am I going to do? I would guess her age to be between 45 and 50 years old. I'm thinking, what do I do here? You know, do I attack this person? Do I throw a punch? Do I do something? And I just try to diffuse the situation as best I could. And of course I have my neighbor here. I want to make sure she's protected. But I'm thinking, you know, if my daughter happened to be with me, I would have acted incredibly aggressive. And I would have done something that would have eliminated the threat very quickly.
Right.
I'm thinking, would that be legal? Am I right? My thought is, I don't really care if it's legal in that situation. I'm going to protect my kid in the yard.
Exactly.
You know, and I'm like, so this person walks into Walmart and then continues to threaten customers and cashiers and persons there. And I walked in very short after, and told the security guard that you need to call the police, you need to call 911. This is what's happening. He's like, oh, I'm well aware. And he's basically saying he can't do anything. He can't stop this person or attack this person or neutralize this person. I'm not saying neutralizing this thing of, death or anything like that, but stop this from occurring. Of course, the police did show up and that person was arrested. But there's a situation like that. Like, what do you do? And, it's usually you're not expecting something like that to happen when you're going into a store real quick. I mean, it was supposed to be a 5-minute trip, and this happened on lunch, and I was it pissed me off. It really did. And I was like thinking, what do I do in this situation? And never talked to an attorney about it. What if I had done this? But then what if you do? And you get in a legal situation where you're not only trying to protect yourself and maybe, your neighbor, your friend, your child, where somebody just, you attacked a poor, I mean, it's a woman, right? I'm a 265-pound, 5'10" male. Probably doesn't look good if I throw my knuckles into the nose of a woman that's maybe 130 pounds or whatever.
Yeah.
But she was a threat, and she had a knife and she was, whatever. And then went off to threat other people. So I can honestly say I wasn't sure what to do in that situation.
And that's exactly what, again, our April meeting is going to be talking about, where that line is. Of course, in the criminal justice system, if you got a prosecutor that's going to go after you, it comes down to a jury of your peers that are going to make that final decision. And we obviously are going to protect our kids and our life, et cetera. But there are lines, and we got to figure out exactly where those are. On that Facebook page that you're talking about, there are people who make aggressive statements that, we're going to do physical harm to these individuals, and we just got to be careful along that slide. We can't become a town of vigilantes or a community of vigilantes where we're going to take justice in our own hands. But on the other side, we also can't be passive and just let this continue because, again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that culture we're going to spin down. And so we got to keep that balance. It's a tough balance to do, but it's something that we absolutely need to step up and engage. And if we simply ignore this, it's just going to get worse. And officials who are out there, the ones that they're going to do their job, but they won't feel like they've got the community support. And we need to step up to the plate. I can't tell you how important it is to have good numbers, for instance, at this meeting. If I can just go off to that for just a second. You were mentioning numbers. We got 4,700 people on that one Facebook page that's dealing with this. We've got 18,000 people that live in Cañon City, not counting Lincoln Park. I think the last numbers I saw is around 47 to 50,000 for Fremont County. We just need 300 people to show up at this meeting, and it will send an impression that is pretty significant at the citizens of this community are caring about this issue and something that's got to be done. Status quo is not acceptable. And, our whole name is Citizens Concerned About Crime. We are concerned. And so if people who are listening to your show today, if they're concerned about this issue, come. We're going to have a very good, respectful conversation with the judges. We appreciate them coming. We appreciate the DA being there. So absolutely, it's going to be respectful, but also educating ourselves and them getting a chance to hear from us, which is just so important.
It very much is. Because what I'm afraid of happening, Phil, is like, if we don't get that support from those peoples in positions of authority, power, and influence, if we don't, and I think that they want to, but really, really good support. Like they want to jump into this too. What is going to happen? Something bad is going to happen. There is going to be a citizen who attacks somebody who, there's going to be a violent situation, that could possibly be a deadly situation because they're going to be so fed up. Or maybe the other way, maybe that person actually ends up, killing or very much harming a citizen, right? So it's like, we got to get this now and get it done right now and nip this in the bud. I mean, it's already grown a little bit, but we can't be complacent. And I think of an example, we're talking about the security states and having too much of that. I'm very much a freedom lover, small government, let the people take care of their lives, but they got to facilitate that thing of security. So there is that fine balance. One of my close friends that I went to college with, Mr. Quintero, his father was a contractor for the military. I believe it was the Air Force. And at the time in the 90s, he was a kid. He was like, 12, 13 years old, lived in Saudi Arabia. And he said in Saudi Arabia, you could leave your wallet in the busiest it could have $1 million in it, and it could be in the busiest town square ever. And nobody would touch that thing. They wouldn't touch it because of deterrence. Now, deterrence is a real thing and it doesn't work. But the deterrence there was if you get caught, they cut your hand off.
Right.
Now, that's the extreme, right? But
Mhm.
hey, it's safe, it's secure, but you might do something, and maybe you're falsely accused of something like that happens.
Mhm.
So that's the extreme side of that. But it's an example of deterrence works.
Mhm.
So I mean,
Mhm.
where's that fine balance? As far as the meeting on Monday and preceding ones, is there going to be succeeding ones? Uh, People who cannot make it in person. I myself am one of those folks. Are they going to be able to maybe look back on it later and join? Is there going to be a live feed by chance, or
Yeah, I've been asked about the live feed a number of times, and we're going to do that. I'm hesitant to bring it up too much because, again, citizen people showing up at the actual meeting is just so critical to
sure?
make this work. So I don't want everybody just to stay home because it's going to be a live feed. So I'm asking citizens right up front, we need you there if you can, but if you can't, we want to make this is an important meeting for our community, and so we're going to have the ability on Facebook to do a live feed for that for sure. I want to get back to one point you made, which is the boiling pot, which is people are frustrated and bad things happen when the pot explodes because the pressure is just so much there. And there are places in Cañon City, at the least, that boiling pot is right there. It seems to me right now that if we don't deal with this, something bad is going to happen. Somebody's going to take justice in their own hands, and they probably will step across the line, and that's going to be negative for them as far as cost of getting involved with the courts is an expensive proposition, without alone all the negative things that go along with it, with your family and everything else. So we've got to step up. And the piece I would mention about that is, if crime hasn't impacted you, this is still an important issue. So there are people that their mailboxes, they've got to secure their mailboxes now because somebody's going by and constantly looking in and stealing whatever it is that they think is going to work for them. There are places in town that this hasn't impacted, or in the county that hasn't impacted as much. We still need those citizens involved as well, uh, because if we let this go, it will impact people. The cancer grows, if I can call it that. It becomes more and more communities, more and more neighborhoods are involved with this. And so, even if crime hasn't impacted you to date, we still need your voice. We still need you present. We still need citizens engaged on this issue, and so we're pushing back on it, and we're pushing back on the tumor, again using that example, as opposed to letting this thing get
I think
out of
that's a great
control.
metaphor. Absolutely, the cancer will grow if we
Hmm.
don't get it. We don't want it to metastasize and cause more problems.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think I just and I I think I shared the three stories I've had that have directly impacted me. One, I
Hmm.
was actually showing real estate, and there was human leavings at the bottom, and there was some people that were investors that were
Hmm.
looking at commercial real estate in our community, and they said they came to the conclusion that they would not invest in our community because of that. Now, obviously, doing that outside is a crime. You didn't catch it, but we found this, and they're not, and they also saw the vagrancy and the homeless problem. Like I said, that these are, we're not necessarily talking about homelessness, but there's correlations, and there's
There are.
maybe possibly even causations between
Hmm.
these things. So they are a related thing, and they wouldn't invest in our community because of that. So we've got to step up and protect I mean, it affects real estate values, even though it's a good market. There's a lot of things going on. People want to invest in here, but we want to make sure that we're holding fast to not allowing this kind of stuff. And I'll see people that comment on the Facebook page, and not just this one, other ones. Oh, I'm from there. It's sad to see this happening. Why is this happening? Well, they live wherever else they live. Now we're here, so we got to fix this. We can correct this.
Hmm.
That's the thing is we're not victims of this horrible thing that we have no effect over. We can absolutely
Absolutely right.
affect this, so we
Yep.
can make the change.
Yep, absolutely right. And you're so right on about how this impacts real estate prices. It also impacts the businesses in our community as well, and certainly the downtown ones. They're circulating about this meeting. I expect a pretty good showing from the folks that have businesses downtown, or even not downtown, because this is impacting them. If you talk to them about their stories, they're losing 25%, sometimes 50% of customers coming to their door because we're allowing this to continue in our community. And it's just, again, I'm not being critical of the CCPD. I think they're doing their absolute best. I know that the police chief is absolutely engaged on this, but we citizens have got to step up and do our part in this. And together, we can make a difference on this. We don't have to allow this to get out of control. We can say not here. We can change the whole trajectory of this, I think, as well. So.
I agree, and that's what we're doing. That's what people need to just get involved.
Yep. And having this conversation on your show is absolutely helpful. The media, the Canyon City Daily Record is stepping up, and they're following now the cases that are going through the courts, just how that's happening, and getting that information out. I think we're going to have some media that aren't local to Canyon City showing up at this meeting on Monday as well, and just getting the word out, having the conversation at the coffee shops about what we can do, all those things to put shine a light on this deal. And again, it's the negative. We got to deal with the negative so we can focus on the positive and make our community that much better. People want jobs, they want opportunities. The festivals that you were involved with, certainly the Whitewater River Festival, fantastic things. Both of us are hip on Cañon City and Fremont County. There are just so many things that we've got going. I'm going to ramble for one more second with that. I've been doing some research just because of the project I'm on from a business standpoint about Cañon City versus other communities. We have got the longest list of recreational opportunities of anybody in Colorado. And certainly that is true of the Front Range. So it's whitewater rafting, world class, rock climbing, world class, mountain biking, world class.
Yes.
You can go skydiving, fly fishing, on and on the list goes as far as recreational opportunities that we have in our community that if you compare anybody else along the Front Range, they have not got the list that we've got. And if you go to Aspen and Telluride and some of the other fantastic places in Colorado, they don't have the whitewater rafting that we've got, the river that's coming here. We've got the 5th longest river in the United States coming through here. We've got the US 50 is the 5th longest highway coming through here. And we've just got so many assets that are on the positive side if we can take advantage of those. And nobody wants this to be an Aspen. Nobody wants it to be a Colorado Springs.
No.
But that doesn't mean that you can't be thriving as a small town in your own community and allow thrivingness to take place. And it goes right back to what you were talking about originally, that if you've got pride in your community, you're thriving, some of these things are going to take care of themselves, that broken window example that you gave. So we're both passionate about this community. We've got to deal with this negative. It's a bit out of control at this point.
It is, and what's to be the change that you want to see? I think it was Gandhi that said that, and
yep.
It starts from here out.
Yep.
And you mentioned I think the Arkansas River is one of the most rafted, if not the most rafted river commercially in North America.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Huge industry. And Whitewater Festival, we're not sure exactly. Maybe we estimate 15,000 people over the 2-day period.
Yeah, it was huge.
Make a visit. Yeah, it's very big. It's been growing every year. A flashback on Maine, that's June 7th this year. Mm-hmm. We're thinking 3,500 to 4,000 people were on Main Street in those 2.5 blocks that we do that. So that's another great event. Maybe we can pitch, I can get up on stage and pitch some meetings that are coming up at that point. Hey, before you have fun, yep. make sure, 10% of you show up to this meeting. Mm-hmm. That's 400 people. So
again, and these meetings are just not what this is about. It's also getting, the 2 campaigns we've got coming up that we're going to be announcing. You got the exclusive one here. We're going to be announcing on Monday night as well. So, there is an opportunity to fix this, and there's an opportunity to make Cañon City the special place that it is, and to take the next step to get there. So
awesome, that is great.
Yeah.
So we'll close out. I want to pitch a couple things, but do you think you'd ever have any desire to maybe get involved in local leadership in the future?
We'll see what happens with that.
Okay.
You're not going to get any exclusive.
No exclusive on that. All right. I mean, I myself would maybe someday like to get involved in certain positions of authority, power, and influence in our community.
So I will talk about it in a general sense. There are 3 council positions that are up this year. I haven't talked to who's on it or who's not, whether they're running or not, but we need people that are pro business on there, in my view, and we need people that want to deal with this law enforcement issue. And if you can have a majority on the council that is ready to step up to that, and again, if the people that are on there want to step up to it, that's fine as well, but we need that. The mayor's position is also up, and I think leadership is absolutely critical for that. So we have opportunities to make the change that we want to see. And again, those who already hold those offices, I just encourage them to step up and be the voice even before elections take place that we need in this community on some rather critical issues.
That's awesome. So get involved. You're getting involved. A lot of people, you can do something, and I know we're busy, we have lives, and we're doing a lot of things, but there's maybe give something of your time and effort and energy to the community. It doesn't take much, and maybe you really get excited about it. You get very much involved. I mean, one thing like in the church, they want you to, and you give your tithe, you give your, but one thing, another way to tithe, it can go to any community, is your time.
Mm-hmm.
That's, your time is our most precious resource that is the one thing that we can't get back, and the one thing that's always fleeting away from us. But giving your time to go to these meetings, to express yourself, to be involved, is a huge thing.
Yep, it is, and especially on the neighborhood level, neighborhood by neighborhood by neighborhood, to do that. You mentioned the faith community, and I just want to close with this, and we can wrap it up for you. But this is just not a law enforcement issue. I come at things from a spiritual issue as well, and there's a spiritual component to all this in a community for sure. And so I challenge the faith community to get involved with this particular issue as well. We just need people from all sectors, but including the faith community, to step up and to say, hey, we're going to be involved with this with somehow, some way. And as I mentioned, the Cañon City cleanup focused on April 26th. We could use a couple hundred people for that initiative to really clean things up. And it happens to be the weekend before the festival, the music and tulip or
Blossom
Festival. Yep. Thank you. It happens to be the weekend before that, and we can make Cañon City shine before we have all the citizens coming in from other places, et cetera. And that's that pride factor. And our windows are no longer broken. We are going to absolutely fix this community to a very positive situation.
And that's such a good thing. I remember years ago, I took my daughter and we were cleaning up around the river.
Mm-hmm.
It was RG Rio was doing that. It was a Saturday, and hundreds of people, children, adults alike, just cleaning up that river, and it makes such a big difference.
It does.
That's a huge thing.
Yep. And I want to mention one last thing, because you mentioned it. It is unacceptable in our community that somebody that is paying taxes on our river walk and not feeling safe to go there by themselves. And that is something that absolutely needs to change. It needs to be a place that I don't care what your age, I don't care what your sex, you feel comfortable walking there, and it's a safe environment. And we just cannot allow any excuse to take place that is not a safe place for our citizens.
I agree.
So,
I mean, I was there, and I'm an open book. I'll tell people things I may or may not should have done, but I went there with my daughter last weekend, and we hiked, and we didn't run into any problems. But when she's with me, I'm a little different. If it's just me, I'm like, whatever. I mean, I can handle myself. At least I think I can. When she's with me, but I did have my gun on my hip.
Mm-hmm.
I was the only one. I mean, I'm not a threat. I'm just in case, in the outside issue that there's some. If she's with me, I'm going to be like that. And I was walking up and down the Riverwalk with her. We're doing our thing, having a good time, and it was open carry, so it wasn't like and actually, so that's why hopefully the city doesn't get mad at me. But they at that meeting, the firearms meeting, so I went to that, and I was talking about that with Ryan McBride, who's on the show last week. There's still an ordinance on the books that you're not allowed to do that, but they're going to change that. I don't know when that's going to happen, but what had happened is they just removed the sign that said no weapons, and now it's no longer there. But they're going to actually reverse that, so you can do that. I'm just, the point I'm making is, I did just in case, right? Didn't run into any problems, any issues. Didn't even see one vagrant person and one person that was possibly up to no good. It was people recreating, running, riding their bike. You talk about those great things that we have in our community. I lived in Denver for 8 years, and the Cherry Creek Trail was something we used to go on. It was really cool, but Denver is such a highly populated area that it was like a super highway. If you were riding your bike and people were zipping by on their bikes, and it was a lot of people. Here we got the Riverwalk. It's great, and it's such a long distance. There's Old Skyline. I took my daughter up there. That's a great little easy hike. Just go up there, and you can go down in the hogback areas and walk around. There's so much stuff, and it's right there. It's a 4-minute drive, 10-minute drive, and it's right there. You don't have to go. You can go up Fremont Peak. It's right outside of town. It's a pretty easy hike, and this is not something you got to drive a half an hour to be to. You're within 10, 15 minutes to get there, and you can go recreate and enjoy it. So we do have a lot of awesome things in this community.
We absolutely do, and there's a lot of good people here. This is not a place that is, you hear the comments, it's drug infested, and it's becoming a terrible place. I disagree totally. That's not what we're trying to do as far as make it, but we still have to deal with that negative issue, and some of it may be perception, but it's real. I've walked the trails a lot myself, and you encounter a lot of people who are homeless, and some are okay, and some look like they've been in town for about a week, and they might look like they came from Denver and be on some of the news stories we heard about. And again, That kind of stuff is just intolerable. It's got to change, and everybody in this community has got to feel safe to use the parks and the trails, etc.
Absolutely. I totally
Yep.
agree.
I appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, thanks, man. You're great. I love when you're on, Phil, and our well, not new format, but new location, I should say, on Facebook. I do want to give a shout out to Mr. Chris Wood. He's one of the administrators for that page.
Yep.
And he allowed me to post that you would be on the show today and tag the show and tag yourself in it. So definitely go check out that Facebook page. Ask to join the group, be involved. That's maybe the first step. He himself, Mr. Wood, has a company, Mountain Valley Pilot Car LLC. So they basically provide services when you need to haul something big. They provide those pilot cars. So you can call them at 371-5700, 719-371-5700. It's another great entrepreneur and business owner in this community. So that's what the show is brought to you by. It's also brought to you by me, Kevin Brown with Keller Williams. Yes, I need your business. I want your business. I've been in real estate for 10 years now. I've got some active commercial listings at 402 Roll Gorge Boulevard and 718 Main Street, two wonderful listings, and I've still got one at 333 Cooper Lane. I'm active in the community. I care about this community. I want us to grow, and I'm a professional, and I want to work with you, so just call me. We can have a conversation, 719-225-3041, 225-3041. Mr. Phil, is there anything you would like to talk about and promote business-wise, or anything you want to plug?
I'll plug Chris Wood. He's stepped up to the plate, and he's running for the Parks and Recreation Board. And I think that election's coming right up. I don't know the exact date.
May 6th, he told me.
Yep. So
and I think
May
you have
6th,
to do it in person.
You have to go someplace specific to vote, but Chris has stepped up to the plate to be on the Park and Rec Board, and he's going to get my vote. And I think we need good people on there. So I appreciate him doing that and supporting your program today.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for Chris Wood. And yes, it's May 6th at the Rec Center. That's what he told me on Facebook Messenger. And you go in person and vote. I think there's 6 or 7 people vying for 6 people going for 3 board positions. So
very good.
Cool.
Makes a difference.
Yes, it does. Absolutely. He's involved.
Yep.
Cool. All right, Phil. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it, Kevin.
All right.
Thank you.
Oops. Let's see. So my camera ran out of